Our second speaker this morning is Ante Glavas. Ante is an assistant professor of management here in the Mendoza College of Business. He holds a PhD from Case Western Reserve, and as we heard last evening, was on the ground floor in the development of the principles for responsible management education. At Notre Dame here, he teaches courses in international management and corporate sustainability and leadership. And Ante, it's a pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Just use the clicker? Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And as Pat mentioned, the topic of mine is value added from the employee side. And one of the things I want to say is part of this will be kind of a dry academic presentation, but what I want you to keep in mind is really the background is the human spirit and what motivates humans and how we can apply that to the workforce. Now, in terms of today, and Pat's going to show me at 15 minutes, I'm not going to get through all of it. I practiced it last night. I have a hard time cutting out slides I like, but hopefully that'll entice you to read the rest of the manuscript. So background, the value added. I actually want to fly through this because we don't have much time. And get to actually the current state of employee engagement. Pat's happy about that. Can you guess, is work among the top 8 reasons that makes people happy? It's not. What percentage of the U.S. workforce do you think is engaged? Take a lucky guess. 40%? 28%. What do you think the engagement is at Walmart? Probably even less, yeah. Pretty sad stats. And now, if you think about this, you take a company like Walmart where employees were engaged, and let's hear what they have to say.
What's been interesting for me is as we've started this journey on sustainability is really the shallowness of my motivation to start on this journey. What's been amazing to me is that what I thought was going to be a defensive strategy that would cause people to not be able to harm Walmart because we would have shored up our defenses is turning out to be entirely the opposite. This is an offensive strategy. This is a strategy about attracting and retaining the best people, the most creative minds, because those are the people, quite honestly, who this subject resonates with. And, you know, there's an old saying that even a blind pig stumbles into an acorn once in a while. I feel a little bit that way, in that, you know, I did my due diligence on the front end. I have no idea of what the outcome of this would be. I think this is such a bigger idea than I ever imagined it would be. And it is a bigger idea than I imagined because of the talent of the people who have taken hold of these individual topics and have looked out and said, wow, this is a big idea. And this will make us a bigger company. And a better company, a much better company. And I think that's the interesting part for me. It's been a kick.
Now, this is a company that's been notoriously known for employee engagement or unengagement. And take a lucky guess. Another question is, they did a survey, what are you most proud of at Walmart? This was shop floor workers, people in Walmart. Guess where sustainability came in? Since I'm asking the question, you probably guess it's pretty high, but it came in as the #1 thing that employees are proud of at Walmart. Quite a shift. Something got into unintentionally, they didn't know why. So the question is why? And there's a few examples I want to go through of what companies are doing. There's your kind of standard thing, like time off for volunteering. You have employee skill-based programs that PwC sends people, for example, to work in nonprofits, apply their skills and gain leadership skills. You have Saatchi and Saatchi Sustainability. This is an interesting one. They've done it in a lot of companies. Just in Walmart, they had over half their employees commit to one personal sustainability goal that they would apply to their lives. They actually received 35,000 ideas for improvement in their offices back in the workshops after that. Then more strategic things. I'm kind of listing things in order from, I guess, less strategic in my opinion to more strategic. Nike. A lot of people don't know about Nike's sustainable practices. Yet you almost ask any employee, this is one thing they're very proud of. They keep it very internal, which is interesting for a marketing company. They're not marketing this. Walmart has 12 sustainable value networks. And then also hear a bit, they have another video clip from Green Mountain Coffee and what they do for employee engagement. A lot of different ways to engage them, but I think we're still at the beginning of the curve of how do you engage employees in this topic. As we know, it's an important topic. Employees do get engaged, but it's still a bit of a CEO agenda. And when we look at employees specifically, and a lot of the students in the back also are probably interested in this is, I like this topic of the common good, but how do I engage in this at work? Now, obviously, the upper right-hand corner down there, and I hope you can see that, that's the ideal picture, which, some companies have, but probably most don't have. So most, if they can, will fall into the upper left or the bottom right. And what that is are you engaged at work? Do you work for a company you're passionate about, you agree with the values? Or engaged in work? Does your work have an element of working for the common good? These are just two quotes from CEOs that not CEOs, some of them were CEOs and some were VPs, but two I singled out, which said, they were surprised that sustainability or social responsibility, whatever you want to call this common good, was a topic when they saw people's eyes light up. It came up and is one of the biggest drivers and benefits of getting engaged was the employee engagement that they saw. So the question is, why is this? Why are employees getting much more engaged? Why was Walmart surprised by this? I want to go into one study and then go into a few studies after that. But this is just one study that was done. It was a survey in 5 countries and tested out in 6 companies. And the stats were, if you can look at this, were quite amazing, is that employee engagement, these are path coefficients of 0.61. Now, granted, these were in companies that were kind of preaching to the choir. A lot of them are companies you know about that are sustainable. But nevertheless, the impact on the employees and the workforce was quite amazing. Then when we did interviews, we tried to figure out why that was. And these are just a snapshot of one quote and just one academic theory behind it. But the idea is that the more whole you show up at work, the more you're going to be engaged. So when you're coming into a company just working for profit and a little bit cutthroat, just to be kind of exaggerating, the thing is you don't show up as whole and are not as engaged. High-quality connections is an interesting one. The more whole you show up makes sense, the more you can connect to people at a whole deep level. And then creative involvement. We're not talking about creativity here, but how much you involve creatively has to do with a lot how passionate you are. Some other interesting findings that was interesting here was that when I did a post hoc analysis and I explored for gender and age, I didn't find any differences, which is quite interesting. And when we asked in interviews later on, it seems for different reasons people engage in this topic. Gender can be for a different reason. You can see here, if we have time in the questions, we can go through it. Age, actually, just to talk about people who are 5 to 10 years from retirement, they want to leave a legacy. And people kind of in the midlife crisis, everyone has their own reason for engaging in the common good, and younger generations for a lot of things that the press has talked about. Also interesting was when we looked at the dimensions, the social aspect had a 3 times stronger effect on employee engagement environmental. It's quite interesting because a lot of the news focuses on sustainability. The social part, which tends to be on the periphery of companies, when it's implemented properly and you feel a company is doing social good, that motivates people a lot more. So issues like poverty, especially inner city poverty in the US. And then so forth. And this you can read in the manuscript with interesting other findings, so just fly through that. So some theoretical explanations that we're trying to find out, and these were future studies to focus on. There's a few reasons why employees might get engaged in this topic. They find greater intrinsic motivation, a greater fit with the company. They're not just values on the wall. But I also want to point out to this meaning at work, and it's especially for, I guess, anyone in the crowd, but also students, is, quite often we focus on job and career calling. So job is I'm just happy to have a job when I graduate in this economy, or just happy to have my job security. Career is promotions, climbing the ladder, not in an egotistical way, but in the sense of I'm appreciated and I'm a warrior for the good things I do, and then calling is purpose and work. And a lot of times people tend to differentiate, but we can actually have elements of all 3. And the part where our HR mechanisms have not put in is they really haven't supported the purpose in building that into work design. So here's an example of what Green Mountain did, just and why they had an effect on employee engagement. And sorry, this is at a conference, so the background noise is kind of large.
The thing is to really support the employees where their passion lies in making a difference. And that energy, the motivation going beyond just making money, but a higher good and doing good in the world is the most fascinating thing to see. And they take that energy in many places. In many of our coffee farms as well, we have sent employees to Source because it has changed their lives. I mean, we have people come in, coffee farmers talk about it, they see videos, they understand what we do and are motivated by it. They get it, this is great, I love it. But yet, when they go out to the source and see things firsthand and experience the relationship that we have with these farmers, they're like, my God, I never understood before. When they come back, their lives are changed. They're really so much more motivated to do well with the fair trade and organic coffees. And it's interesting because it's as meaningful to the farmers as well, that somebody really cares about them. You know, they're connected. It's like we have a community supplying coffee to the end consumer. And I think when you put working together, you always find the best solutions, not only from a sustainability point of view, but from a quality product that is in demand in the marketplace. The company itself has a great perception in the public, and we get many people coming to us just wanting to get in the organization because of what we stand for, what we do. But also, I think the employee development, and we really value everyone within the organization and their valuable stakeholders.
So this part is a part of my fly through. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of academic literature at 9 o'clock in the morning, and just to scare you off to see what's in the slide, but this is hopefully a teaser for the manuscript. This is a result from a content analysis, and no, you don't have to read all this in 30 seconds. But the question is, what really drives employee engagement, and how do you get implemented in a company? And don't worry, I have another slide which simplifies this a lot, but it's just to show you that there's a lot of work done looking at, what do we know about employee engagement for the common good? There's a lot more that we don't know, but there's actually a lot of work that we've done. I was quite surprised when I found it. And some of the things that we're finding is that, obviously, the different drivers are incentives and performance reviews. It's kind of what you measure is what you get. If you're a highly sales-driven company, you don't have this in your performance mechanisms, it's not going to happen as much. The interesting thing is supervisor support. This is one of the things we don't know, but one thing we found in interviews is it really depends on who the supervisor support is in companies. So you think at a company like Nike, when I asked them, what really happened, you think about the internal champions, they were kind of the heroes of the company. They were the designers. You might take a company like Intel, they'd be the engineers. So it really matters under what conditions you apply this. And then there's other things, corporate culture and so forth. I'm not going to go through this. But if you look at the outcomes, it's quite amazing. If you talk to any CEO or manager, you talk about the value-added case. If you can make a case for employee retention, job satisfaction, even a 1% increase in productivity, those are huge things that get people to listen. But the question is, which employees get affected and how? It's not the same for every employee. Some employees might not care about this, others might more. So the question is, who do you implement this and with how? So in terms of future research, there's a few things I just wanted to say. There's a few things coming out that hopefully we'll be able to tell you about in a few months. But there is one study I wanted to show you, which is, and this is also if anyone's interested in this or participating in this, looking at the conditions under which people get influenced. And one of the interesting parts is, if you look on the left-hand side, is looking at the personal profile of the person. What are their personality traits? What's their sense of calling? What can we know about these people? This really helps inform HR strategy, recruiting, which sort of employees you get involved. We started working with the Dairy Council. This is an offshoot of Walmart. And you can see this is from farmers to companies like Kraft to Walmart to smaller companies and so forth. Get the whole varied stream. Because we want to get people who are considering themselves part of the choir, but also people consider this a bunch of tree hugging and don't care about it. And see, is there really a difference with people? Now this is expanded beyond that to agriculture and just food in general. So if anyone's interested, my email is at the bottom. But I also hope to look forward to hearing from you and put more in the manuscript, since I know this is a bit rushed for 15 minutes. Good. Thank you.